Hello, Stoney fam, and welcome back to another episode of TokeTalks with Tia. This is now episode number 21. I got my bong packed in front of me, got a nice coffee next to me. I'm having a great day, just went food shopping, got a bunch of good foods and snack foods. Trust me though, going food shopping when you're high, not a good idea. Because I do regret how much food we had to carry in, but there's a lot to eat, so I'm very happy about that. I'm very grateful that I was able to get as much food as I have. But anyway, also got my show that I've been watching in the background because, Miss Maisel, love that show. But what I really want to talk with you guys about today is I kind of want to go back in time and talk about my personal experiences and just things that I went through and kind of what it was like for me starting, not so much when I first smoked pot, but like what it was like throughout school when I was smoking and stuff. Anyway, going further back than that, throughout school, when I was really, really young, throughout like elementary school, I was a very shy kid. I had seen those drug commercials, obviously, like not commercials, but the videos that we'd have to talk about in health class and stuff like that. And I was very against it, didn't want to ever smoke, not even cigarettes. My parents actually made me smoke my first one when I was 8, thinking that I would never smoke them before, like never pick them up when I was an adult, which ended up actually happening, so kind of didn't work, guys. Anyway, not a good idea. Don't ever force that on your kids. Oh, sorry, hold on one sec, guys. That coffee had me burping really bad. I did not want to do it on the mic. So anyway, yeah, so throughout school I was really shy. I didn't have too many friends at that time. I played kind of with just the kids on my street. I didn't really have anybody else to hang out with. But as I got older, in like middle school, I found my group of friends, and me and my clique of friends, we stuck by each other, and we were all friends throughout high school even, too. Not all of us, not every single one of us, but almost all of us. Also, I apologize for that couple last seconds where it was pretty loud in the background. I can never really tell when the show's when it's going to get really loud. Usually, though, it's whenever she goes up on stage and she's doing her sets. She's pretty loud, but this episode especially, season 2, is really, really funny. So if you guys have not watched the show yet, please do. It's really freaking funny. But not to get off topic. Yeah, so I was a really shy person, and once I finally found my group of friends, it was a lot easier for me, and funny enough to, like, the reason why I kind of find it funny, it's not a funny topic or subject, but it's funny that I even not let this happen, because you can't really, control it, but that I was such a different person throughout all these different phases of my life. It's weird. Not so much funny, but weird. But anyway, I was bullied a lot, actually, growing up, and even into high school I was bullied. It was more so by the guys. I had a very different figure than a lot of the other girls that I was in school with. I started growing boobs very, very, very young, very early, and I was very skinny still, but had very big chest, and people did not believe that they were real. People would mess with me all the time. I'd also was made fun of because of my nose, for my teeth, just all kinds of other things that were just not nice. That and rumors were spread about me, typical shit that happens when you're in high school, middle school, stuff like that. It got a lot easier, though, I felt, for me, more so in high school than it was in middle school, like the drama factor and stuff. I always thought it'd be the opposite. I thought it was going to get worse as I got into high school. But for me, personally, it got a lot easier. Me and my group of friends, we would hang out, and I got half of my friends into smoking pot. I was the first one out of everybody to do so. But it was, as soon as I kind of started smoking, that's really when I stopped really caring for people that were, not good in my life or good to me, and I was not letting anybody bully me or treat me badly anymore. There also was this particular one girl that I ended up actually having an altercation with in high school, because I had to defend myself because she just came up behind me, and that's a funny story. I'll tell you about that also in a second. But this girl, she was awful to me. She bullied me for about 4 years, right up until high school and a year throughout high school, and also throughout the first year of high school in 9th grade, but mostly in middle school. We're gonna call her Ditz because she was very, very dumb. She still kind of is. I feel bad saying that because it's been years and years later, but unfortunately, in some cases, people where they change, as like how I have, not everybody else changes for the good or even at all, and she has not really much. So, but anyway, she was very awful to me, and also awful to my friends, my group of friends. And, just typical mean girl stuff. She would just talk all kinds of mean things about me. She would, she'd messed with my workbook once and wrote some awful, awful things in it, which our workbook was like my kind of agenda for school, but they would make us like write down what we had to homework and stuff like that for the day. All that stuff was written, and just every single page had just horrible, disgusting stuff written on it. There was a couple times that we had to be, brought into the office and talked to, both of us. It was ridiculous. But the last time, a story that I was getting up to that I wanted to tell you guys, which is really funny. One of the only times I've ever fought anyone, because violence is not the answer, guys. I don't like hitting people. Not a violent person. I would rather just walk away than fight somebody, but if I have to, I will, especially if they're going to touch me. But anyway, like I said, that girl did. She was just terrible to me, very awful to me, and I was trying to let it go because one of my friends in my group was trying to be nice to her, and she was kind of exiled from her own friend group because she did some awful fuck shit to them. I don't really remember. This was so many years ago, but I do remember that I was not standing for her being near me. I didn't want anything to do with her. I wasn't going to argue back and forth with her anymore, but I wanted nothing to do with her. But somehow she got my phone number and was just texting me this awful, awful stuff. I'm not going to repeat it because I do remember some of it, which, yeah, guys, if you bully somebody for years, they do kind of remember what you say and do. So don't be mean to people, guys. It comes back and haunts you. But yeah, she said some really disgusting stuff to me, and yes, I was angry about it, but I wasn't going to fight her. She said she was going to jump me, so I said, okay. Next day comes around, and our last names happen to be very similar. Similar lettering anyway, not the same last name whatsoever, but because of that, we're next to each other, of course, and I'm going to put my stuff away in my locker, and all I can feel is just somebody coming up behind me, and she just grabbed my hair from behind. I remember grabbing my hair from her hand, spinning her around, smashing her head against the locker. I punched her in the face, slammed my own locker door shut, taken her stuff and thrown it down the hallway, and grabbed my own stuff and went back to class. I remember I was crying because I knew that I was going to get in trouble, and I really was not trying to get in any more trouble. I had gotten, funny enough, I'd never gotten in trouble throughout, elementary school, middle school. I was always, like I said, the quiet, shy girl, very quiet, not, argumentative, very passive, let people walk all over me kind of thing, treat me like shit. But besides all that, I never got in any trouble. Like, literally the only time I got into detention once in, 6th grade, and that was because of something that wasn't even my fault. But anyway, I never really got in any trouble. But in high school, I got in quite a lot of trouble. So at that point in time, I was not looking for any more trouble. This kind of sucked. But that day, I didn't even get in as much trouble as I thought I would be in, because she was, like I said, saying some really awful stuff to me and texting me just rampages of just disgusting stuff. And they saw it as bullying. And this is when bullying had, just really kind of struck as a law. It was really becoming serious, and they were cracking down on that. Not, cracking down, but they were, but they were really trying to emphasize, you cannot do this. This is not okay. We have a zero tolerance policy for it. So it was very serious. She needed to leave me alone. And she did. And she got suspended for an extra day longer than I did. I was suspended for only the remainder of the day. I do remember this day was one of the only times I actually had a good day with my stepfather, we've always had an awful relationship. He's treated me very poorly my entire life that I've known him. He was very abusive to me as well. That's something I'll talk about maybe another time if I ever do want to talk about that. It's kind of personal. But anyway, this is the only time we ever had a good day together. I do remember right after that, I remember he gave me a high five, and we got sandwiches and drove around for an hour. It was a really nice day out that day also, but that's all I really remember. This was several many years ago, because I've been out of high school for quite a while. Weird to think about also. I cannot believe I'm going to be 24 soon, in a couple months. Cannot believe it. I am, though, more excited for Halloween coming up than any other holiday. I could care less about Christmas, my birthday, any of that. I really want Halloween. I can't wait for spooky time, guys. But yeah, at that time when that had happened, I think I really only just got into smoking pot. I wasn't that heavy into it. But as time went on and I was in high school, I was really into smoking. And that was my only time of relaxation when I got out of school. I would do it before school. I remember there were times I'd even snuck out of my, we had these classes called DLs, which were just a study hall kind of period where you would just go and study and do your homework and stuff like that. Well, I had that as one of my periods, the last one of the day, and I would just leave and pretend that I was going to the library and then just leave. Me and my one of my old best friends at the time, we would do that together. We would just leave and go back to my house and get stoned. while my mom and her husband were working, so nobody was usually around. It was just me and the cat and my friends just getting high. Which, by the way, still have the same cat. She's very, very old. She lives with my mom, though. Her name's Angel. She's a blessing. Very old and very chunky, but she's a blessing. But yeah, speaking of school, another thing I freaking hated was the pacer test. I have horrible asthma, and I only really remember doing it before I started smoking pot, so I guess, and smoking in general, because I started smoking cigarettes too. Gross. Don't do that, guys. If you've never smoked them, don't fucking do it now. There's no reason to. You're not missing out on anything. And if you do smoke, I'm not trying to knock on you guys. I totally feel you. I smoked for years and years and years. I still vape a nicotine vape, so I'm no fucking better. In fact, I'm pretty sure nicotine vapes are pretty bad also. If they could be worse. I don't even know. They don't really have all the research for that yet. That's not what I want to talk about. But anyway... Yeah, pacer test. That shit sucked. I hated it. It made me feel like all eyes were on me. I did not want to be one of the last people running, but I also didn't want to be one of the first people getting out of the race. Like, I felt like it was weird. But then as I got older, I was like, I don't give a shit. Like, make fun of me all you want. I'm not running. Like, I'm tired. You're not making me do this. If you're not paying me, I'm not doing this. And I actually got very lucky when it came to gym class, because after 8th grade, I got a pass to get out of gym class, and that I never had to go to gym after that. I have slight scoliosis, and I had problems with my back severely when I was younger, and to the point where I could do gym class, but I was doing physical therapy and other stuff, so like the doctors really didn't think it was necessary for me to do it. And my back got better, so like I didn't have to miss any more classes, but they didn't really look into it, so I got out of it, and I didn't care. But yeah, as I got older and I was smoking and hanging out with my friends, that was a really great time in my life, but it was also really hard for me. I don't know about you guys, whoever's listening, if your parents were as accepting or not as accepting as mine were for when it comes to pot, but I was very much treated like the black sheep of the family, outcasted, called names, and I've had my pieces messed with. I mean, to fuck with me once, just for example, my mom's husband, like I said, a piece of shit, decided to put soap in my bong, thinking that I would smoke out of it, and there was just soap all in the water and up in the top of the piece, and I'm only imagining what would have happened if I did smoke it. Like, I don't know anybody who smoked soap. That's really disgusting, and I don't know why he thought that would be funny. On top of the other weird, fucked up, gross things he's tried to do to make me get sick, but... My parents were very against it, and by parents I mean my dad also, because he really didn't want me smoking until I was a little bit older, but he wasn't as against it. But my mom and her husband were terribly against it. My mom wasn't so much, it was more so like her husband, and whatever he says kind of goes type of thing. So in that case, I had to hide it. As I got a little bit older though, I didn't hide it anymore. I just was not allowed to smoke it in the house, and when I would come home, anything I would do that they saw was, like, wrong or stupid or, just want to make fun of me and just fuck with me, they would say, oh, it's because you're high. I'm eating something. Oh, it's because you don't eat everything in the house, it's because you're high. And that would also give me a lot of anxiety, because I have problems with eating. So having all eyes on me when I'm trying to eat is very bothersome and worrisome, too. Especially when I can't finish something. I usually have, I want to say 80% of the time, whenever I eat something, I can't finish it. And that's why I'll grab a very small portion of something. I do not like having large portions of food in front of me. I have stomach issues. It's not even just because of my ED. I have problems with eating in general. So I don't like being around food that much. I love food, don't get me wrong, but it's hard for me to eat. So that's why I really love smoking. And I would tell my parents, my mom, her husband, my dad, like, hey, I smoke a lot too, because it's not just to get high, like, it's helping with this, this, and this. And then eventually my mom started to understand, and, fast forward years and years later, as I'm out of high school and I become a bud tender, that now it was, like, acceptable. All my stepdad's friends were doing it, my mom's friends were smoking, they were getting stuff from my work even, funny enough. They were coming in and seeing me specifically, even funnier enough. And then finally he was like, well, I guess weed isn't the gateway to hell and you're not a terrorist anymore. Because he literally said that to me. He said that I supported terrorism for smoking pot. I've never heard that one before. Speaking of smoking pot, I am going to light this up and get high with you guys for a sec before I continue talking.